part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs in the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, he is the owner, editor, operator, all the things at hoopswire.com. He's right beside me. We are recording live at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Sam Amico. Sam, Cavs come away with a victory over the Pelicans today. What's up, man?
It's going pretty well. It looked a little hairy there for a while.
Yep.
And then Donovan Mitchell went out.
Yep.
So it looked hairier and scarier. And sure enough, the Cavs pretty quickly went on a 15-0 run and put things away. So yeah, I mean, it was a good win for them. Didn't play their best game of the season, but managed to beat some old friends in David Griffin and Larry Nance Jr. and C.J. McCollum, the Canton native. So nice win for the Cavs, especially with a tough week ahead.
Thanks in large part to 30 points from Darius Garland to go along with 6 rebounds and 11 assists. We had Jarrett Allen, 24 points, 11 rebounds. Evan Mobley, 19 points, 8 rebounds. Sam, Garland really took over the game when Mitchell went out in the second half. It was really his second half. It was impressive.
It really was. It may have been his best second half of the season, other than that the Timberwolves game. He had a great game, but they lost that game. This game, they really needed somebody else, obviously, to step up. If you think about it, Chase, Garland had 5 points at halftime. I think he was 2 of 8 shooting at the time. Second half, 7 of 14 shooting, 4 of 6 on threes, and then finishes with 30 points. So, yeah, you're right. It was something that they needed, and obviously while he scored a lot and did a lot of the scoring, we heard J.B. Bickerstaff after the game really was a team-wide effort in the truest sense, because they got good defense from Okoro, a lot of timely shots from Allen, and pretty quiet 19 points from Evan Mobley, 8 of 10 shooting, very efficient game, and like you said, also 8 rebounds. So the way they played today is something that, the second half they may have to carry over, because with Donovan Mitchell, left groin strain, you never know. Those things can go a couple of ways. They can mean a game here and there, or could be missing some time. So might have to do it without him for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that'll be the lead coming out of this game is Mitchell's injury, depending on how long he's out. And then another story, we'll see Garland's kind of way he was able to control the game, take over the game. It seemed like all game, the Pelicans didn't really have an answer for the Cavs' height underneath the basket, and it was just waiting for the Cavs to go on that run. And the typical Cavs run is Cavalanche, right? 3-3-3. And that wasn't really the case. It was kind of like to borrow a football term, a ground and pound, feed it inside. A lot of those 15 points came from the free throw line. I think the Cavs shot 33 free throws this afternoon. They made 26 of them, shooting 78% from the field. And so it wasn't the typical, they were 9 of 28 from behind the arc. It wasn't the typical Cavalanche 15-point comeback. It was, they got a couple stops on defense, and they were able to kind of string a couple big things together. Another story you might hear out of the game is Isaac Okoro had a quiet game. He defended C.J. McCollum excellently in the first half and was 2 from 4 from behind the arc. Sam, what does Okoro's development, what does that provide this Cavs team?
Just what you said. C.J. McCollum is probably, shockingly, he's never made an all-star team. As good as McCollum is, he is probably going to make one this year. The Pelicans are near the top of the Western Conference. He's having an outstanding season. What Okoro offers in this sense was he really made him, and Karis LeVert to a lesser extent, but Isaac Okoro, J.B. Bickerstaff said after the game, specifically pointed to Okoro. Yeah. If he can become kind of that wing, I don't want to say stopper, but slower downer.
Official NBA word, slower downer.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's any kind of word. But
Bickerstaff used the word spacing, right? Creates spacing, and makes the defenders go out and challenge that shot in the corner. And one of the things I love about Okoro's game, I'm taking a little victory lap on my Okoro Island here. He's had a great week, is he is excellent at slashing to the basket, whether it's from the corner or a pump fake and drive, and he's an excellent, strong finisher at the rim. And if he can really be consistent on that outside shot, it's going to just give this Cavs team something that they've been missing. Jarrett Allen in the postgame talked about how hard Okoro works on that shot. When they have a team shoot around, Jarrett Allen said Okoro is the first one in, the last one out. He puts in the work. And so really none of the players are shocked at this development because they've seen it over the course of the season and the offseason. But it's nice to see it finally translating in this game. Sam Rubio's first game home, the Cavs, Bickerstaff pregame said that he was going to be 15 minutes, limited to 15 minutes, played 17 tonight. What did you see from Rubio tonight that he provided this Cavs team?
The same as always, and I think we've seen that in every game he's played already this season, the 3 that he's played. The ball keeps moving. He finds people where they want the ball, which is really, that's the highest compliment you can give a passer. Not that he has a ton of assists, but he gave people the ball like where they like it. And he does that so often, probably as much as anyone, if not more than anyone in the NBA. He's known that. That's when he came into the NBA. That was his specialty, and he's never lost that. That's really benefited a young team that, with a younger core that's still kind of finding its way. To have Rubio out there gets guys the ball where they like it. His teammates love seeing him out there because it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get a shot in my motion,
Yep.
Which is a big deal when you're talking about a league with elite athletes, awesome defenders, that can guard you in any way, shape, or form. To get just an extra little something to help your shot that provided by a teammate is huge. And that's what Rubio provides mostly. Obviously, just the morale boost that he gives these guys. And I think he's probably going to be a little bit up. And I don't want to say down because I don't think tonight was down, but a little bit up and kind of out there for a little bit, feeling his way around. So,
you saw that with some of the lineups, too. It seems like not only he's feeling that out, but Bickerstaff is trying to find these lineups that work with him. Garland, post-game, called him a wizard. Someone, I forget who, forget who, but they asked him about what's it like having Rubio on the court. He's like, he's just a wizard. Yeah. And I think that is such a great description of what he can do with the basketball, how he finds seams or lanes for the team and really sets them up for success. Sam, this was a really special. I don't get to cover a lot of Cavs games. You've covered. You're a legend here. Every time you walk in the hall, someone different's like, Sam, what's up, amigo?
And they don't always say nice things. You just heard him tonight.
No, I just want to say thank you for the invite. It was cool to not only watch the team, but to watch you at work. No one knows that as Sam's watching the game, he is constantly posting articles, not only for Amico Hoops, but for his other websites that he manages and writes for and other blogs. I look over near the end of the game, and Sam already has this Cavs recap article written up, ready to put in all these stats and points. He just has placeholders. So it was great to see not only the Wizards at work on the court, but the legend Sam at work right now. So Sam, it was really an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
That's what you call being old. I've done this a long time. I think my first Cavs game as a full-timer part-timer was 2007. And then 2010, Fox Sports Ohio hired me full-time. My first day as a full-timer was the day LeBron James announced he was leaving for the Heat.
Oh, really?
So for a while there, I was like the losingest writer in the NBA after LeBron left. But what I was going to say mostly is, the great thing about this team is when LeBron James leaves an organization, you expect them to immediately stink. And for a year or so, the Cavs did. Mm-hmm. You kind of thought it would happen for a lot longer than that. So I give Kobe Altman and JB Bickerstaff and the rest of the Cavs front office and coaching staff a great deal of credit, Chase, for putting together a product that is really a lot of fun to watch, fun to cover, and looks to be going places.
I had a ton of fun. As Sam was writing for his blog, I followed the game on Twitter and was posting updates. With this victory, the Cavs improved to 28-7. I'm trying to pull this up here. I'm so sorry.
28-17.
28-17. Angling themselves for a home court advantage in the playoffs, which right now I think they're the fourth team in the East behind the Celtics, Bucks, and the Nets, who are playing well. Sam, how do you feel the outlook is for the Cavs to keep that fourth seed? You feel like it's a pretty good outlook?
You would think so. Again, it's all going to come down, not all of it, but a lot of it's going to come down to who's the healthiest. And I think it's probably going to come down to Chase, probably that final month, maybe the final week, maybe the final day of, who gets 4 or 5, because you look at those 4 teams you just mentioned, Cavs, Bucks, Celtics, Nets, and then you throw in the Sixers, who are right there on the Cavs' tail. Those 5 teams right there, you're talking about the top 5 seeds in the East, presumably, okay? If everybody stays
Sixers
healthy.
are concerning.
Well, right now you would look and you would think that the Cavs, if the playoffs were to start today, would face Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tobias Harris, and the Sixers. Yeah. I mean, that's a very veteran team, a very playoff-savvy team, and they're very, very capable of winning road games. And in the playoffs, you've got to win a road game usually to advance. So that would be a scary matchup. But, again, a lot of things can happen. We see Kevin Durant is out for a little bit. The Nets could potentially slide down. The Cavs move up to 3, maybe a 6 seed. They play. It'd be a lot different story if they're playing the Pacers or somebody in the first round as opposed to the Sixers. Yes,
the 76ers definitely are capable of winning on the road in the playoffs. I would want home court advantage even though they are a veteran team. I would still want home court advantage against them. I would not want to go to Philly.
No,
in
absolutely
Philly for a playoff series
against
the 76ers.
That'd be a
tough challenge for this young team. And it's so hard to keep that in perspective. This is a young team.
Well, compared to the teams I just listed, Chase, the Bucks have won a championship 2 years ago. The Celtics were in the finals last season. The Sixers have Embiid and Harden and Harris, who's an underrated veteran for them. And then you throw in the Nets who have Durant.
Championship.
And then you throw in the Cavs roster, which, you have Mitchell, Garland, very nice players. Mobley, second-year guy. Allen, a young guy. Okoro. These are your core guys who are young, so they don't – and, Chase, how many of these guys have even tasted the playoffs? Donovan Mitchell. That's about it.
They got a whiff last year before Trae Young put a stop to that.
Yeah, these other teams have been on deep playoff runs, their core, and they're veteran squads, and guess what? It's a different ball game in the playoffs. Yeah. These veterans know how to do it, and the Cavs have, other than like Kevin Love and Mitchell, really haven't gotten a long taste of that.
Yes. Yeah, Sam, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at the Cavs' schedule for the rest of the week. Seems to have a pretty interesting challenge ahead of them. And stick around, Cavs on the break, live from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We'll be right back.
The wait is over. DrafKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is officially live in Ohio. Now you can legally bet on all your favorite sports anytime and anywhere right here in the great state of Ohio with DraftKings. And for a limited time, new customers who sign up with the promo code P3Cavs will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. DraftKings says the best features including same-game parlays, player props, and more with fast and easy payouts right at your fingertips. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. New customers can use promo code P3Cavs to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. Only at DrafKings Sportsbook. Remember, use the promo code P3Cavs. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 years or older, physically present in the state of Ohio. Valid one offer per first-time depositors who have not already redeemed $200 in free bets via pre-launch offer. Minimum $5 deposit and wager, $200 issued as bonus bets. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/OH for terms.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
and we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tyvis, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Regai, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Yeah, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it, Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Regai and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
All right, we are back. Cavs on the Break NBA podcast live from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse with Sam Amico, Chase Smith. Sam, the Cavs come up with a victory against the New Orleans Pelicans, 113-103 here on this January 16th, Martin Luther King Day. The Cavs had a pretty interesting schedule the rest of the week. They have 3 games over the next, it looks like 5 days. On Wednesday, they travel to Tennessee to face John Morant and the Grizzlies at FedEx Forum. And then on Friday the 20th, they're back home against the Warriors, the worst road team in the NBA, right here, January 20th. And then the 21st, they have another home game against Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Those aren't bums. Those are some really good basketball teams. What do you expect here of the slate of games?
Well, I thought it was interesting just looking at the schedule because you have the whole gamut of the Western Conference in there. You have kind of the new guys in the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, who are kind of like the new
came
team.
On the scene last year really strong.
And really they've been up near the top of the Western Conference. Those two have been battling the Nuggets for the Western Conference supremacy all year. So, to get the Pelicans, to get a victory over the Pelicans is nice because then you go to Memphis, okay, and they're the real deal with not just Morant, but they're loaded. Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, the power forward name, Jared Jackson,
Steven Adams as well.
Yeah, so I mean
big
that
guy.
team is loaded. They very much remind me of the Cavs in the Western Conference though. So again, that's a tough game to go to on the road, especially if you might not have Mitchell. Then you get to come home and face the defending champions, who are terrible on the road. They won today. They beat the Wizards in Washington.
I have a feeling they might be a little extra motivated to steal a game here in Cleveland.
Yeah,
it's not like
and Curry's coming around after his shoulder injury. He's coming around a little bit. I just don't think that team is clearly isn't as big of a threat as they've been in seasons past. Klay Thompson's a shell of what he once was. Draymond Green is definitely getting older, and Steph Curry is coming off an injury and is 34 years old himself. So that'd be a nice game for the Cavs to be able to win at home. You'll always want to be the Warriors. That's your big rival from 2014 to 2019. And
lore past.
What's that?
From the lore of the Cavs history.
Yeah, right. And then then after the Warriors game, the very next night, you get Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks. So this is a big kind of measuring stick for the Cavs. More than anything, you're 28-17. You don't want to drop all three by any stretch, and then all of a sudden, that puts you maybe down to 5 or 6 in the Eastern Conference standings. So it's important to play well to show that you can match up with these teams, because these really are 3 of the top teams. Even though I know the Warriors have had their struggles, they're still 3 of the top teams in the entire league.
Yeah. Look, the Rock is going to be packed Friday night for the Warriors. The fans are going to want to beat them because a lot of the Warriors that were a key part of those championship runs are still on that team.
Yeah.
You still have Curry, you still have Clay, you still have Draymond, you still have Coach Kerr. And so that core is still there. They have a lot of memories here. They celebrated a championship here, I think, didn't they?
They did.
The fourth, the 2018.
2018 and 2000. They celebrated 2015 here too.
Here as well. The first one,
because I remember they came back the next year, in 2015-16, when they went 73-9, and Steph Curry said, "I can still smell the champagne in the visiting locker room." And then they went 73-9 and blew the 3-1 lead, and
so
those were the days.
I think they're going to be up for it. I think it's going to get a lot of this young team excited. I'm anxious to see how they handle the height of the Cavs, how they handle Mobley and Allen. I think the Cavs are going to be up for the challenge, though. And so, I think if we go 1-2, I think that could be like a really realistic, especially if Mitchell's out. If Mitchell's out, any this week, that's, I think, going to be a concern.
Yes.
But full strength, we go 1-2, 2-1. But I definitely think even if Mitchell's out, I still think we can pull that. We can pull that game out against the Warriors, which sets up a classic letdown game against the Bucks, right? If we go all out against the Warriors on Friday, classic. It might be the worst loss of the season here at the Rock, Sam. I don't know. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think they're going to want to beat the Warriors.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've got to have to beat those teams, especially start with the Grizzlies on the road. Any of those teams, Grizzlies, Warriors, Bucks, and let's say Mitchell is out for those games. Obviously, you're going to need somebody in the starting lineup to step up, but you really need to get more. The Cavs need to get a little more scoring from their bench, whether it's Love, Kevin Love and Chetty have not been.
Kevin Love hasn't been the same since his return from injury. His shot hasn't been where it needs to be.
His shot is way off. He can't. But he's getting a lot of rebounds. He just cannot shoot right now. And 1 of 7 today, and 0 of 4
on behind the mark. Kevin.
So they really need one of those guys. You can't expect Rubio to score. Lamar Stevens isn't going to score much. He does his thing. He's very valuable with what he does.
That's why LeVert is so important.
Yes. Well, Karis LeVert would need to become the guy that they traded for, especially without Mitchell. But he'll need to become that if they're going to, win a round in the playoffs.
See, I'm gonna push back. I think he is the player they traded for. I just think. He had a lot of usage when he was on the Pacers or when he was on the Nets. His usage was incredibly high, which I think inflated a lot of what he could do. I think he played 15 minutes tonight and put up 8 points on 5 shots, right? And he is aggressive with the ball, which is what you want. And I think for the role he is here, for the Cavs, I think he's great. His usage isn't where it was with those teams when he started or when he was playing 38
with the
minutes.
Pacers, right? I think he needs to still get a little more comfortable on his drives. Number that's one. Number 2, he's got to start knocking down some threes. He only took 1 today, but he's got to start. I think I don't. It doesn't seem like he's real confident in that.
Yeah.
He's not been bad by any stretch. He's just not been.
Yeah.
The fifth. Even if they, I think more what they would like from him off the bench is 12 to 15.
Yeah.
Because right now they're not getting that from anybody off the bench. He had 8 today, and he led them in bench scoring. So theoretically, if they could get 12 to 15 off the bench from him, or at least the threat of 12 to 15 every game, I think that's a little more what they're looking for. But, look, he's not been bad. He does some nice things. And I also have seen a lot of his shots, or the shots that he's normally makes in seasons past, that are rolling off the rim and coming out. And I know that's got to mess with your head a little bit too. So whether it's LeVert, whether it's Kevin Love, Chetty, I don't think it's fair to ask Rubio to come in and average 13.5 a game like he did last year right now. And Lamar Stevens isn't going to do that consistently. But they need to find that consistent bench scorer to kind of take that next step and win games like these next 3.
Well, the Cavs season is still being written. The trade deadline is February 9th. I'm sure there'll be some type of news, whether the Cavs make a move or not. We'll be right here for you covering all of the breaking news for Cavs and the trade deadline. The All-Star break is coming up here the middle of February. We'll be with you with that. And then we have the second half of the season, which is almost a whole new season before we get to the playoffs. So Cavs, still a lot to go in this season. And but we like what we're seeing. And Sam, I like what we're seeing here. I like what we're seeing here on Cavs on the Break. You, Sam, I gotta say, I think you earned the Junkyard Dog Award today with what you're able to do, how you multitask.
You didn't give it to yourself.
I would never give it to myself. I would never give it to myself.
If I hosted the show, I would win every time.
All right. Well, I think the listeners won in this episode.
Yeah. We'll give them the Junkyard
live. Listeners with the Junkyard Dog. All right, let's do it. The subscribers,
Are they called the Breakers?
The Breakers win the Junkyard Dog Award for this episode of Cavs on the Break, live here from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Want to give a shout to our sponsors, DrafKings Sportsbook. Don't forget, new users still will receive $200 in free bets using our code P3Cavs. So go to DrafKings Sportsbook for all of that information. Terms apply, must be 21 years or older, and in Ohio for that term. You can follow Sam online at Amico Hoops or at HoopsWire. Check out all of his works and writing at hoopswire.com. Make sure to follow us online on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. And we just thank you so much for checking this out. Sam, any final thoughts, my man?
Yeah, will you promise to come to a game with me again soon?
I would love to. We got to find, it's got to be that perfect day, perfect time. This 3:00 game, I know the players said it was really weird and difficult, but it works for me. I don't know.
They should do this all. I'd be great with this all the time. I love these games.
Yeah. All right. Well, Sam, thank you so much. And Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.